There's something fascinating about hot hatchbacks. On the outside, they look like regular, everyday cars you'd expect to see in a supermarket parking lot. But once you step on the throttle, they transform into beasts with enough performance to shock sports cars. Hot hatches have always been the rebels of the automotive world. They're affordable, practical, but also insanely fun and unpredictable. Today, we're diving deep into the 7 craziest hot hatchbacks ever built. These are the ones that bent the rules, scared drivers, and left their mark in history.
1. Renault Clio V6.
The Renault Clio V6 wasn't just a hatchback. It was a Frankenstein experiment on wheels. The story begins with Renault's obsession with rally cars and their urge to create something completely out of the box. They took the ordinary Renault Clio, removed the back seats, and then shoved a massive 3.0-liter V6 engine right in the middle of the car, behind the driver, like a supercar. That setup alone was enough to make people raise eyebrows. The first version, the Phase 1, had 230 horsepower and rear-wheel drive. But here's the catch. The handling was so twitchy that if you weren't careful, it could spin around and bite you. It was wild, unpredictable, and sometimes terrifying. Later, the Phase 2 improved with 255 horsepower and slightly better handling, but the madness was still there. The Clio V6 wasn't the fastest hatchback, but it was one of the most memorable. Every drive was an event. You didn't just hop in and go, you prepared yourself mentally. And that's what makes it legendary. 2. Ford Focus RS2 Malawian Quatches. When Ford launched the Focus RS2 Malawian Quatches in 2009, it instantly became a hero. Under the hood, it had a turbocharged 2.5-liter 5-cylinder engine that made 305 horsepower. Now, that doesn't sound insane compared to modern standards, but the way it delivered power was absolutely brutal. The sound alone was enough to give you goosebumps. It growled, popped, and snarled like a rally car. The craziest part? All that power went to the front wheels. Normally, that would mean uncontrollable torque steer, but Ford came up with a clever suspension trick called the redefined system. It managed the power surprisingly well, letting you push the car harder than you'd expect. The RS2 Malawian Quatches wasn't just about numbers, it had character. It looked aggressive with wide arches, bright colors like ultimate green, and a stance that screamed performance. It was a hooligan in hatchback form, and owners loved every second of it. 3. Volkswagen Golf R32. The Volkswagen Golf has always been about balance. Practical, comfortable, and reliable. But the R32 broke that tradition in the best way possible. Launched in the early 2000s, it came with a naturally aspirated 3.2-liter VR6 engine producing 240 horsepower. That engine wasn't just powerful, it sounded like pure music. Deep, throaty, and smooth, it gave the R32 a personality that no other hatchback had at the time. But it wasn't just about the engine. The R32 had Volkswagen's 4-motion all-wheel drive system, which gave it superb grip in all conditions. It was also one of the very first production cars to use a dual-clutch gearbox, the DSG, making gear changes faster and smoother than ever. For many, the R32 was the ultimate mix of refinement and insanity. It was classy enough to be a daily driver, but when you floored it, the car came alive in a way that made you smile every single time. 4. Honda Civic Type R EK9. The Civic Type R EK9 is the kind of car that shows you don't need huge horsepower to have fun. Built only for the Japanese market in the late 1990s, this was Honda's first ever Type R Civic. Under the hood was a 1.6-liter naturally aspirated engine producing 182 horsepower. Doesn't sound like much? Here's the magic. It revved all the way to 8,500 RPM. The VTC kicked in at high revs, and suddenly the car transformed from a calm city car into a screaming race machine. But it wasn't just the engine. The EK9 was lightweight, nimble, and came with one of the slickest manual gearboxes ever made. It was a driver's car through and through. Every shift, every corner, every rev felt like an extension of you. Honda built it with a philosophy of purity. No turbochargers, no gimmicks, just raw connection between driver and machine. And that's what makes the Civic Type R EK9 so special even today. 5. Peugeot 205 GTI. If we're talking about legendary hot hatches, the Peugeot 205 GTI has to be in the conversation. Released in the 1980s, it quickly became the benchmark for fun, affordable performance. You could get it with either a 1.6-liter or a 1.9-liter engine, producing up to 130 horsepower. That doesn't sound like much, but the car was so light that it felt unbelievably quick and responsive. The real magic of the 205 GTI was in its handling. It was sharp, direct, and playful, almost like a go-kart. On winding roads, it came alive, dancing through corners with a balance that very few cars have ever matched. It became a cult hero not just in Europe but around the world. Even today, enthusiasts say the 205 GTI captures the essence of what a hot hatch should be: lightweight, fun, and slightly dangerous if you push too hard. It wasn't about luxury or technology, it was about pure driving joy. 6. Mercedes-Benz A45 AMG. Now this is where the hot hatch world went absolutely insane. When Mercedes decided to enter the game with the A45 AMG, they didn't hold back. They took their small A-class hatchback and dropped in the most powerful 2.0-liter four-cylinder engine in the world at the time. We're talking about 355 horsepower from a tiny engine. That's supercar territory in a hatchback body. It came with AMG's all-wheel drive system, meaning it could rocket from 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 4.5 seconds. To put that in perspective, it was as quick as many Porsches of the time. And inside, it had all the luxury you'd expect from Mercedes: leather seats, high-tech features, and that signature AMG attention to detail. The A45 AMG wasn't just fast. It completely changed what people thought a hatchback could be. It was proof that practicality and extreme performance could live in the same car. 7. Lancia Delta Integrale. And finally, we end with the king of rally-bred hot hatches, the Lancia Delta Integrale. This car wasn't built just for the road. It was built to dominate the World Rally Championship, and that's exactly what it did, winning 6 consecutive titles from 1987 to 1992. The Delta Integrale had a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, all-wheel drive, and handling that was tuned for the toughest rally stages on Earth. On the outside, it looked boxy but aggressive, with wide arches and a stance that screamed performance. On the inside, it was raw and purposeful. Every drive felt like a rally stage, and that's what made it special. The Integrale isn't just a car. It's a legend. It represents an era when manufacturers built road cars purely to win in motorsport, and the result was something truly magical. Even today, it remains one of the most iconic hot hatches ever built. And that's for today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Got thoughts, questions, or video ideas? Drop them down in the comments. I read every single one,